Hello and welcome everyone to the Polity Primer series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pragya and today I will be talking about one of the most marginalized groups in India. And who are they? They are the transgender community. They are so marginalized that they are even treated below the normal citizens of India. They are discriminated in every sphere of their life. The title of our today's discussion is Reservation for Transgender Community. In this discussion, we will be studying about who are transgenders. We'll also see what are horizontal reservations. We'll also see the demand for horizontal reservation by the transgender community. And we'll also see what has happened so far on the demand of horizontal reservations by the transgender community. We are also going to see some of the important cases in this regard and the opinion of our Honorable Supreme Court in these cases. And in the end, we will be discussing a practice question for your prelims examination and a practice question for your mains examination. Now let us proceed to understand the background of our today's discussion or the context in which we are having this discussion today. The transgender community has been demanding the horizontal reservations since a long time. But even after the enactment of Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, Protection of Rights Act 2019. So even after the enactment of this act, this demand for horizontal reservation is still a dream. It is still far from reality. They are not entitled to avail horizontal reservations still. So now let us understand who are transgenders. So the term transgender is an umbrella term which is used for persons whose gender identity, gender behavior and gender expression do not conform to the sex which they were assigned to at their birth. In very simple language, it means that they differ in their gender identity when they grow up. They realize that, okay, so this was my assigned sex at my birth. Now I do not conform to this sex. And it also includes hijras and eunuchs within its sphere and also the transsexual people. So what do we understand by this term transsexual? For example, there is a girl who was born as a girl, but when she grows up, she realizes that she associates more with the male energy. She associates that she has male characteristics. So she undergoes sex realignment surgery to conform to her gender identity, which she has realized while growing up. So she will now be known as a trans male person or a transsexual person, and vice versa is also true. When a male also becomes a female, he is also known as a transsexual person. So transgenders is an umbrella term used for all these peoples within its sphere. So transgender people in India face oppression at multiple levels. So on one hand, we have Article 15 Clause 1, which prohibits the state from discriminating on the ground of sex, on the ground of place of birth, on the ground of religion. But on the other hand, the discrimination against the transgender community runs counter to the constitutional guarantee of equality that is given to every citizen of India. Now let us understand the relation between Article 14 and the transgender community. Article 14 of our Indian Constitution provides that the state shall not deny to any person. Kindly note this word any person. We will be discussing it elaborately in our further slides. Equality before law or the equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. So what do we understand by this term equality before law? So in the eyes of law in India, every citizen is equal, and equality includes the full and final enjoyment of all rights and freedom. So if we consider this, the transgender persons are also equal as they are Indian citizens, but the discriminations against them run counter to Article 14, which gives equality before law to us. Article 14 also casts a positive obligation on the state to ensure equal protection of laws for the citizens within the territory of India, and for bringing these changes, social and economic changes are also required. So, Article 14 does not restrict the word person and its application only to male or female. So, the word person is not restricted under Article 14 to apply only on the binary genders, that is the male or the female gender. So, what do we understand by this? That even transgender persons are entitled to equality as they are also a citizen of India. So, the transgender persons are also included within the term person used in Article 14. But discrimination against the transgender persons is very prevalent in India, and they are discriminated in every sphere of their life, as I was discussing before, be it the sphere of education, be it the sphere of employment, be it the sphere of healthcare. They face discrimination in every sphere of their life, and that is why I am reiterating it again and again that these discriminations run against the constitutional guarantee of equality, which is given to us by virtue of Article 14 of our Indian Constitution. Even Article 15 and 16 prohibit discrimination on the ground of sex, but this discrimination is prevalent in India. Discrimination on the basis of gender identity, discrimination on the basis of sexual identity. The transgender persons also face social exclusion. For example, let us understand that, have you ever heard that there is a trans kid in your school? No. Why? Because their gender identity is a heavily protected secret. It's a heavily guarded secret, and they fear that if they will reveal their true gender identity, they will face discrimination, they will face bullying, and this is very prevalent in India. So, while the constitution was drafted, our drafting committee was aware of these social realities, and that is why they placed Article 15 and 16 in our Indian Constitution, which prohibit discrimination on the ground of sex. But the transgender community has been constantly denied their rights under Articles 15 clause 2, Article 15 clause 4, Article 16 clause 2 and 16 clause 4. So, despite being Indian citizens, they are discriminated on their gender and sexual identity and have been denied their rights under these articles. So, that is why they are demanding reservation for them. That is why there is a need to protect them. There is a need for positive discrimination against them. There is a need to create a special class for them. Now, let us understand what are horizontal reservations. Article 14 provides right to equality to all Indian citizens, as I was discussing before. Reservation is a kind of positive discrimination which helps in uplifting the marginalized communities of India who have been wronged since the historical times. And that is why the transgender community is also demanding this reservation. Reservation can be of two types. It can be either vertical reservation or horizontal reservation. Reservation for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes is often known as the vertical reservation. And what is horizontal reservation? For example, reservation for women, for example, reservation for PWDs. So, we are creating a special categories within the vertical reservation, as Article 15 clause 3 empowers the state to make special law for women and children. That is why the women also receive horizontal reservation within their own category. For example, apart from being a SC, if she is a girl, she will also receive horizontal reservation under the women category. If there is a PWD person, apart from claiming the vertical reservation in its own caste, he will also get horizontal reservation in the PWD category. And the transgender persons are also asking for this kind of horizontal reservation so as to create a positive discrimination for them, so that they can access the employment opportunities in India, they can have education, good education, and to achieve all of this, they need a positive affirmative action by the state. So we are discussing the demand for horizontal reservation by the transgender communities, and I have explained what is horizontal reservation and why the transgender community is demanding a horizontal reservation. So there are certain categories of citizens which enjoy both vertical and horizontal reservation. As I have explained this before also, that certain category of citizens such as women and PWDs often receive horizontal reservation to protect them, to positively discriminate against them, and that is why the transgender community is also demanding a horizontal reservation to protect their rights in every sphere, fundamental rights in every sphere of their life. As per a study conducted by the National Human Rights Commission, it has been revealed in 2017 that only 6% of the transgender people were formally employed. Rest of them are often engaged in informal employments. So there is a need to represent them in formal employments. They are not able to secure formal employments even after so much of years have been passed since our independence. So this is a sad reality, and that is why they are demanding horizontal reservations. They often have to make a choice between availing reservation either based on caste and tribal identity or to protect their gender identity. So often they have to make a choice that either they want to remain the person or remain the sex they were assigned to there at birth to claim the reservation within their vertical categories, such as if they are OBCs or SC/STs, and to reveal their own gender identity and avail no benefit of the reservation. So this is not the case with normal citizens. We are getting reservation because we identify ourselves as binary genders. We identify ourselves through our caste. So why are we forcing this community to make a choice between their original identity and claiming of reservation? So this is one of the unfortunate realities which is happening against the transgender community in India, and that is why they are demanding the horizontal reservations. Now let us see some of the important cases in this regard and what the Supreme Court has observed in these cases. So the first case is Nalsa versus Union of India. This is a landmark case which has shaped the landscape of LGBTQ rights in India. In this case, the Supreme Court has recognized the transgender persons as third genders and also has discussed gender identity at a great length. The court has observed that third gender persons were entitled to fundamental rights under the Constitution and under international law as well. The court has also confirmed their fundamental rights under Article 14, 15, 19 and 21 of our Indian Constitution. The court has recognized the fact that Article 14 is a gender neutral article. It mentions the word persons, and persons do not mean only binary persons. And Article 19 on the other hand also mentions the word citizen. Same is the case with Article 21 as well. So when all of these articles are gender neutral, then why are we denying the transgender community their rights? Their right to equality, their right to receive education, their right to live a dignified life under Article 21. So all of these aspects of their constitutional and fundamental rights were discussed at a great length in this case. So the second case is Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. The Supreme Court in this landmark verdict on right to privacy recognized the privacy claims of the LGBTQ community. So in this case, the Supreme Court observed that even if there are transgender persons or the LGBTQ community, they are entitled to their own right to privacy. It was opined by the Justice G.Y. Chandrachud that LGBTQ persons have rights founded on sound constitutional doctrine, and if we are denying these rights, constitutional rights to them, it will amount to violation of their fundamental rights of equality, right to live with human dignity and right to privacy. So for true sense of equality, to enforce true sense of equality, these persons should also be treated at par with the normal citizens of India, as all of the articles mentioned in our Indian Constitution are gender neutral. Then comes the judgment of Shakti Vahini versus Union of India. In this case, the right to choose a life partner was declared as a fundamental right under Article 21 of our Indian Constitution. So, as we are aware that a petition is currently pending before the Supreme Court for the legalization of the same-sex marriages. And it has been argued that in India, a person has a right to choose a life partner. So, this right to choose a life partner should also be available to the transgender community. They are fighting for same-sex marriages legalization since a long time, and they also argue that they also have this fundamental right so that they can choose their own life partner, and this will give them more inclusivity in the Indian cultural system. They will feel more included within our social sphere, within the social sphere of life. They also have a right to live a dignified life. They also have a right to marry. They also have a right to adopt children. So all of these constitutional rights should be guaranteed to them. And as I am discussing that all of the articles mentioned in our Indian Constitution are gender neutral. And so is Article 21, under which we have recognized the right to choose a life partner. So it should also be available to the LGBTQ community. Then comes the important and the landmark judgment of Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India. A 5-judge constitution bench in this case struck down IPC section 377 to the extent that it criminalized homosexuality. So, section 377 of Indian Penal Code was an archaic law prevalent during the British colonial times. The British did not consider them, the transgender community, to be a good community, and they considered them to be criminal minded people. Before the advent of British rule in India, the transgender were respected enough in our Indian society, but after the advent of British colonial rule, they inserted this section 377 in the Indian Penal Code, which criminalized the sexual intercourse by the transgender community or the homosexual people. So in this case, what happened was, the court recognized that section 377 was unconstitutional to the extent that it criminalized sexual intercourse, private sexual intercourse of the private acts by the homosexual persons in their private space. So now they do not, so that they should not face discrimination at the hands of the police or harassment at the hands of the police. The court observed that the criminalization of sexual act between consenting adults is arbitrary in nature and violates the right of equality guaranteed in our Indian Constitution. So the court considered it to be against Article 14, which gives us right to equality, and henceforth section 377 is declared to be unconstitutional to the extent that it criminalizes private acts between two consenting adults who are homosexual in nature. So all these cases have shaped the LGBTQ community rights in India. Even the Supreme Court has a progressive jurisprudence, has a progressive approach towards this community and the recognition of the rights of this community. Now let us understand what has happened so far on the demand of horizontal reservations by the transgender community in India. Since the NALSA judgment, there has been no direction from the central government on delivering the right to reservation for trans persons. So this is a very sad reality in India, that the right, this demand of horizontal reservation by the transgender community is not taken seriously by the central government. As I have mentioned before, even after the enactment of Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act, (2019), the right to reservation has still not been granted to them. A private member bill was presented in the Rajya Sabha by the DMK MP Tiruchi Seva. After being passed in the Rajya Sabha, the bill was rejected in the Lok Sabha. And what was he arguing in this private member bill? He was arguing the demand for a horizontal reservation for the LGBTQ community in India. Then in 2016, the central government brought the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill of 2016. In 2018, a parliamentary standing committee under the Ministry of Social Justice was set up. The committee also suggested that we should have horizontal reservation for the protection of rights of the transgender persons. But even after the recommendation of this commission or this committee, the central government did not pay any heed to the demand of horizontal reservation and did not include it in the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act of 2019. So the current scenario is they are not getting any horizontal reservation. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen who are transgender. We have seen what are horizontal and vertical reservations. We have also seen why are they demanding the vertical and horizontal reservations. We have also seen the opinion of Supreme Court in Nalsa versus Union of India, in which the Supreme Court recognized them as third genders. So, gender discrimination and discrimination based on sexual identity is still there in India even after so much has been said on it by the Honorable Supreme Court. People are still discriminated on the basis of their gender identity, on the basis of their sexual orientation, and this should not happen. Just because a person identifies himself or herself as the third gender doesn't mean he should be subjected to discrimination, and that is why we need to implement the NALSA judgment and grant positive affirmatory action, positive discrimination in the favor of the transgender community. Now let us discuss a practice question for your prelims examination. So the statement, the question is, consider the following statements regarding the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. The first statement is, according to the Act, transgender means a person whose gender does not match with the gender assigned to that person at birth. It has criminalized begging. And the third statement is, it provides reservation for the transgender person. Kindly drop your answers in the comment box below. Now let us see a practice question for your mains examination. India still has to travel a long path in granting transgender their constitutional rights. Comment. Kindly attempt this question for your mains answer writing practice. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you like today's discussion, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.